company which is 40, it's a company that's 40 years old now. It's a company that's been around for 4 decades. And for me personally, over the past 2 years that we've been working with you, what's really been refreshing to see is that unlike startups, which have a growth at all cost mindset, you guys have been extremely particular about growing in a certain manner, which is growing sustainably, making sure that profitability is never compromised. In fact, profitability keeps improving while fundamentally changing the business. So I'm really looking forward to today's conversation with you, Prashant, and of course for the benefit of all the people who are listening in today. But before I start asking my questions, Prashant, would love for you to talk a little bit about Oswaal Books' journey so far and what the company has been doing all these years.
Sure. Thank you, Neeraj. Thank you for having me here today. And we will get back to this topic, what you said. You know, you normally work with startups and your webinars are normally with startups, whereas Oswaal Books is obviously a very traditional company, at least to the outside world. We will get back to this later. So I'll briefly tell you where do we come from. So it all started when I was 3 years old, and obviously I wasn't the one to start it. So my dad was part of the larger family business, which was also a publishing house. And one particular afternoon in the month of April, he was invited to the family board meeting where he was told that he will no longer be a part of the family business and he can start something of his own. I was obviously told this story much later, and it took me a lot of years to actually understand the nuance of that day and what happened that day. What I learned was that, you know, starting a business, obviously, as everyone knows, is very difficult when you don't have any money. And in those days, obviously, VC and PE did not exist. So some acquaintances lent him money. And from there, in 1984, Oswaal Books started. The first 5-6 years, obviously, my dad was very young and he bought out a lot of books. Most of them were successes. It carried on like that till 1995 for the next 11 years. But what they always did was, obviously, like any Indian family traditional business, they saved a lot of money. They worked on growth, but never spent it all, neither on personal expenses nor in the business itself. In 1995, my dad had major health troubles, and we saw continuous decline of our business from 1995 till 2005-6. 2007 is when I moved back from the UK, me and my wife, and we decided to join the family business. The business was obviously in the worst possible state at that time. What we did get to the business was new energy, and because of that, we started taking a lot of new initiatives. And because of that, we started facing a lot of fresh losses as well. None of those initiatives worked because I was in these two boats. One was the UK way, where I was working for the last 4 years, and one was the traditional Indian way. And both were not working for me or for the business. So in 2007, we started a website called booksforyou.in, which was even just months before Flipkart started, we started selling books online. It took us 2 years to realize there is no unit economics there to be worked upon. In India, courier is more expensive. Books are not that expensive. So that maths never will work out. And though books are being sold online, it's a wonderful product to be bought online. The unit economics doesn't work till date. 2008-9, we bought out a lot of new series of books. All of them did not work. We lost money there. We lost some amount of enthusiasm there. But you know, if I look in hindsight, you know, those were the best things that could have happened to us, because I think sometimes early successes give us that you know, false confidence that we know it all and, you know, we are the master of the game. In 2010, we were at the worst point in our business. We were losing money every day. And we saw this big change happening in CBSE, which was ignored by everyone else because it was happening in class 9th. Now, normally class 9th is not something very serious for teachers, students, or publishers. But because we were desperate looking for a good opportunity, and we saw that. But obviously, I had come from UK, so I thought, let's do a market survey. And we did a market survey, and the market survey clearly spelled out that we should not bring out anything for class 9. But then we thought, we have this hunch, we have this gut feel that we would want to do that no matter what the survey says. And that product changed the course for the company. So we brought that out, and no one else did that. It was a huge success. We found a blue ocean there for us. So 2010, the business turned around, but still there were a lot of accumulated losses. There were loans on the company. In the last 10, 15 years, my dad had pretty much sold one property every year to keep the business running. He had two mantras. He never ever wanted to give up because he'd seen, zeros before. And second was he always wanted to pay his people on time. These were his two mantras. So he never let go of them. And from 2010 till 2016, 17, we saw a 40-50% annual growth, which was brilliant for us because we were coming from a place where we did not know we would survive. 2017, 18, obviously our product portfolio grew, our market reach grew, our brand value in the market grew. But we reached a point where we founders were doing everything, the team size was growing, the business was becoming unmanageable. And that is when we realized we need, every day we used to move one step forward and one step backward. So that was frustrating us a lot. We found a business coach in Delhi. His name is Mr. Rahul Jain. And we did an 8-month program with him. What he helped us do was set up systems that all big companies have, but small companies don't. So those systems for everything big and small that we do in a company, at the end of 1 year, our business was pretty much on autopilot. When I say autopilot, doesn't mean that I don't come to the office or I don't need to come to the office. What it means is the day-to-day affairs are taken care of by the team very well. Like any other company, some people leave us, new people join us. So those things would not stop the company from moving forward. So that was brilliant. That happened in 2019. And as that happened, we realized that as we are becoming more aware, our ambitions are growing. And because of the past 7-8 years of growth, we wanted to keep the same momentum of that 45-50% growth, which wasn't as easy as before because we were on a much larger base now. While we wanted to grow, suddenly in 2020, the pandemic hit. Everything shut down, obviously, bookshops, schools, our publishing business, everything. 10 days, we had no idea what to do. On the 11th day, we thought, let us send computers to all our people. Let us start working from home. We did not know what will we do because we've never been a work from home company. Everyone used to come to the office. So we started working from home. We asked ourselves, what is it that we can do? And so this, I brought you to speed, from 1984 to 2020. I think that should give you a glimpse of where we are. Yes.
Yeah, I've worked with you for 2.5 years now, but the backstory is something that obviously I didn't have all details about. It's phenomenal, Prashant. Three things that stood out for me in what you've recounted for us about Oswaal Books' journey so far. Number one, the fact that every time when you hit an air pocket, whether it was 2009-10, whether it was 2017-18, whether it was 2020, you were always looking for things to do to completely level shift the company. It's a pattern in Oswaal Books I realize now. I've known you from 2020, but as you've recounted your story from the early days, very clear that this is something that you guys do. And whenever you hit an air pocket, you're thinking of innovative things to do to be able to revive the company. Fantastic to hear that, Prashant. Second thing that stood out for me was you spoke about a little incident where you did a market survey. The market survey gave you a particular result, yet you went ahead and did something based on pure instinct and gut. The reason I want to underline that point is a lot of people don't realize that entrepreneurship and building your own company many times is as much about gut and instinct as it is about data and data and surveys, right? So I really want to underline that point. Thank you for sharing that, Prashant. And third, of course, I've known your family also, and I again fully resonate, and I fully sort of understand the point that you just made about how uncle basically stressed on the fact that we will never ever delay payments to our people. The focus on people was always there. And again, the reason I'm underlining these points is because it gives me a good understanding of why you people did what you did when pandemic hit. And I'm going to come to that in a moment. So I remember when we first met up, Prashant, in 2020, the pandemic had hit. Like most companies in the entire country, businesses had taken a very, very big beating. Revenues had gone down to zero, almost zero. In your case also, because exams had gotten postponed, there was no clarity on when exams are going to happen. So clearly your sales also went down quite a bit. But when we first met each other, you were not talking about how do I save cost during this time? How do I survive this time from a cost standpoint? Your conversation with me was, how do I fundamentally rewire my company to be able to make use of this time? And I found that incredible, Prashant. That's one of the big reasons why working with you has been such a pleasure, because all of you are extremely wired on one approach, which is how do we constantly keep improving this company? Tell me, why did you want to rewire at that point in time? Like most of the people who were just waiting for the storm to pass, you could have easily said, let's hunker down, wait for the storm to pass, cut down costs, and then we will get back to BAU once the storm passes. But you didn't do that. You wanted to change many things inside the company. So why did you want to change many things? And two, what were some of the biggest things that you changed in the course of that volume?
Great. So Neeraj, two things. What happened in the pandemic was obviously our revenues did not go down. They were zero for 2 months. But like I said, the business was doing fine for the past few years. So again, we had some savings. And when the pandemic hit, obviously all small business owners had this conversation amongst themselves. How do we pay salaries? Do we not pay salaries? If we do, how much should we pay? We never had this conversation at Oswaal Books. As a business, we had enough investments that we could cover these salaries for the next 6, 8, 9 months. And we realized that this money is very important for the team who's working here. We cannot, let them hang in the dry right now. So that was one. Second, these 2 months actually gave us, the owners and the team as well, to, think where we are going, what we are doing with our careers, with our business. And I personally coached our team that let's use this time to learn. We will never ever get this time. We hope we never get such a time in our lives ever again. And what better use of it than to, learn new skills, pick up whatever we wanted to pick up. So that happened, one. Second, just at the end of 2 months, when the markets opened, sales started happening.
Yes.
And we realized that we're very lucky to be in a business like education in India, which can be temporarily disrupted, but it is never going to stop.
Mm-hmm.
So why not prepare for a much bigger, better future for Oswaal Books? Why not gather these skills? Why not make the team? Why not invest in things that are, very softer in nature, but will take the company to the next level from there on?
Yes.
I think those 2 months of lockdown one gave everyone a time for reflection.
Yeah.
So I hope I answered your question.
No, very, very helpful. And why don't you lay down, for the sake of the people on the webinar, what's the top 2-3 things that you went about changing inside the company?
Great. So what happened in the lockdown was, first, we started work from home and we asked ourselves, what is it that we can do? We started selling ebooks. We were the first ones to launch ebooks in lockdown, and we saw some sales happening there. Obviously, the figures were very different. Second, there was a course happening at IIM Ahmedabad called Strategies for Growth. So all the founders, we joined that course. And this was the first time in life where we made a 10-page strategic plan for Oswaal Books for the next 3 years.
Yes.
See, what happens as business owners, you're always too busy. You have too many priorities, long term,
Yes.
short term. You don't get time to do these things which are very important. But those 2 months gave us that time. And while making that strategy, we realized the scope is huge. The universe is big. We have a big opportunity in front of us. We need a scaling consultant or a 10x consultant, as they are called. And thanks to your company's name, when we search for 10x consultants on Google, xto10x was the first name that came up. And that is how we got in touch with you, I think around August, September 2020. So the strategy part, the reflection part, and I strongly believe there is this saying by Gautam Buddha: when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So probably we were ready, and that's how we found you in August 2020. And from there on, yes.
You use two terms that I'm distinctly uncomfortable with. You use consultant and you use teacher. We have a long way to go before we can actually call ourselves teachers of any kind, Prashant. And we generally look at ourselves as operating partners. And in you, we found a company that was really willing to do whatever it takes to make fundamental changes. I remember one of the first things we spoke about and we started doing together was planning I remember the ambition that you set for yourself, Prashant, was going from wherever you were to 100 crore milestone for the company. And at that point in time, it seemed like a very big milestone for you. And the first thing that we started doing together was laying out the plan over the next 12, 18 months for getting to the 100 crore milestone. Why don't you take us through some of the things that had to be done inside the company to make that plan actually become reality for you? How did that change happen inside the company?
Great. So Neeraj, when we first met you, we had this rough draft of strategy. And as far as I remember, you worked with us in fine-tuning that, putting numbers, metrics wherever missing. We had a lot of vague statements there. We want to be the best employer. We want to be the best known brand, things which are not measurable. And we would have never known if that has happened or not.
Yeah.
So you instilled in us that metric, that number, that measurable way of looking at things. This is the same time when we read a book called Measure What Matters by John Doerr, which had a very similar approach to how you approached at things. Right after that, you introduced us to a bouquet of offerings that xto10x does.
Yeah.
You explained each one of them to us. I clearly remember we chose two. One was OKRs and the other was people practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you had others like finance, you had others like marketing, you had operations, sales. At that point, we felt that OKR is something which will encompass everything that we do.
Yes.
And because we were growing very fast in terms of number of people, the alignment was becoming loose day by day.
Yes.
Obviously, understanding OKRs took us a couple of weeks. Implementing OKRs took us a few months.
Yes.
I would say implementing OKRs well took us around 2 quarters.
Yes.
But what has happened is very beautiful. Because of OKRs, we are now able to dream big. We are able to break that big dream into very small parts. And when you're a 160 people organization, no one, everyone is happy to work on 1 or 2 or 3 of those parts.
Yes.
And OKR displays how beautifully a lot of big things can be achieved if all of us work on small parts of our own.
Yes.
So that has started happening, one. And then the people practice, which I think we can talk later.
Yes. I agree. I think, I remember when back then you did have an MIS plan. You did have a sheet that people were sort of that people would refer to decide what they had to do for a particular day. And the big shift for you as a company was to start thinking not just every day, but to start thinking quarter at a time, right? To start thinking 1 to 2 quarters at a time, to start thinking for the annual goal, which is the 1 year of ambition, and then break it down into 1 quarter at a time, and then break it down into what every team had to do to make that big objective come alive. It was a big shift for you. You people have been around working in a certain manner for a long time. Tell me a little bit about the transition. How did people in the team take to the process? I know you said it took 2 quarters for it to get stabilized, but did you see resistance from team members? Did you find that people were not willing to sort of accept the process? How did you drive the confidence in people that here is a process that will help us move forward in the right manner?
So Neeraj, when you introduced us to OKRs and you introduced us to the fact that we put our big objectives, the company-wide objectives, and then we connect all the teams, and
Yes.
all the team OKRs are connected to those individuals. I think the biggest skeptic was myself. I never imagined that our people would be ready.
Yes.
Ready in terms of would they be able to accept this? Would they be able to understand this? And I was proven absolutely wrong. Our people surprised us.
Yes.
They might have had a couple of weeks training issues using the software.
Yes.
But they were absolutely interested in doing that. They were excited by it. And the most beautiful part was, till then, everyone was working in their own silos.
Yes.
What happened with this is everyone was aware what are the company objectives, what are the team objectives, and how important is what I'm working upon.
Yes.
Otherwise, everyone thinks, this is my task. The thinking is very task oriented. This is my task. I'm supposed to do this task. I don't even know if it is important for the company or not.
Correct.
And when all of that is put into OKRs, everyone realizes no matter what I'm doing, be it HR, be it MIS, be it IT, be it anyone, or even thinks sales and marketing guys are the most important. Everyone is very important. Every task that we're doing is important. And if something is not on the OKRs, probably it's not important.
That's correct.
So I was surprised. The people embraced it. It took us a couple of quarters, I would say, to smoothen out the way we were doing it. But there was very, very little resistance to it. I think I was more apprehensive about it. The people embraced it, yes.
I still remember the weekly review calls that we used to have in OKRs. And you would have a team of 25, 30 people across different departments joining in. You would have people from editorial, people from operations, people from marketing, people from your HR teams, all of them joining in, and all of them giving an update on their respective KRs in pursuit of the company objective. And I thought that one of the things that I realized was everybody felt that they were getting visibility inside the company, that what they were doing was now being discussed and spoken about. And I thought that was a very empowering thing for a lot of people inside the company as well. So you're spot on. Even I was surprised, to be honest, Prashant, about how people in your company actually embrace this process the way they did. I didn't expect that. We're not talking about very tech-savvy people here, but yet the folks took to this process really, really well. In fact, there was a big reason why the process actually stabilized the way it did.
Correct.
At this point, I'm gonna open up a poll. Anusha, you may want to open up a poll for people on the webinar. Do you want to launch the poll, Anusha? Yeah. Do you have an effective strategy or a planning process to set yourselves up for the next 12 to 24 months? In your respective companies, not just an annual goal setting process, but do you have a planning process that actually drills it down to what every department has to do in pursuit of those goals? And do you have everybody coming together in pursuit of the goals? You give it a minute. Okay, Nisha, do you want to start displaying the results? No, not surprising. A lot of people obviously don't have a very good planning process. Again, something that we see in company after company, Prashant. There are big annual meetings set up saying that we're going to have, this is the big objective we're going after. But how does that objective then break down into a plan for people that can be tracked, that can be measured, that can be reviewed very systematically over a period of time is something that most companies obviously struggle with. But I think this is one area when I look back, I think Oswaal did phenomenally well. I think the fact that I remember at the start of every quarter, you guys were talking about not just a sharp plan for the coming quarter, but you're also thinking about what was required for the next quarter's objectives to actually get met, and how do we start working on those inputs from now. I think that's what the OKR process did for you guys.
So we had 2 OKRs every quarter. One was work to be done in that quarter, and one was called readiness for the next quarter. So things that we need to do now for the next quarter to happen well. Yes.
Absolutely. Now, moving on to the next question, Prashant. Another thing that you said, there were two areas that we worked together on. One was OKRs and planning, and the other was obviously people practices and people excellence. Now, again, it was very refreshing for us to see that here is a company that actually wanted to do something different for its people, wasn't willing to sort of stick with BAU. And I remember our first 2, 3, 4 conversations on this topic were interesting, because our recommendations were very radical for a company of your kind, for the way you had been running the company up until that point in time. And there was, with very good reason, resistance also, that we're not sure if this is going to fly in our context. Now, as you look back, what were the 3, 4 things that you people did that changed the way you were looking at your people excellence or your people processes? What are the big changes you made, and how have they impacted your company?
Okay. So I'll begin answering this question by, so 2 facts. One, I think in our DNA, we've always been pervasive. I don't know, maybe because of the circumstances that we've seen, maybe because of the highs and lows we've seen, or we had that DNA, I don't know how. What we also realized in 2020 was whatever got us here will not get us there.
Yeah.
We will need to do different things. We will need to do things differently. Just the fact that we are a small company or we are based in a non-metro doesn't mean we have to behave like a small company. I believe, startups are called startups. Flipkart, Amazon are also called startups. They are probably 20, 30,000 crore companies, billion-dollar companies. Startups are called startups because they behave like they're just starting up.
Yes.
If a traditional company today decides that they will start acting as if they are just starting up, they can be a startup.
Yes.
So we had that thinking in ourselves, and we used to look at everything that we do with a doubt that it could be completely wrong. Never be too sure about what we're doing, or what we are doing has to be the right way. So we definitely knew that people is the biggest asset that we had. And hence, when we told you that what can we do better for our people, you introduced us to something called ENPS survey. So that was the first time we actually surveyed our people officially in a manner where they can pour their heart out. We used to have those unofficial conversations, but they are very different. And I think it took your team a couple of calls to ensure that everyone in our company understood that this will be perfectly confidential and they can specifically rate and mention whatever they feel. That NPS survey was an eye-opener for us. Obviously, there were things that people loved about us, but there were a lot of basic problems in our company as well. A lot of problems. Sometimes traditional business people or traditional businesses or family businesses, they carry a lot of legacy, and legacy is not good.
Yeah.
Because you also carry your past negative experiences with you. Each negative experience, you create a policy around it.
Yes.
Now your company becomes a web of those policies that will not let anyone work. So I remember when the NPS survey results came out, it took you probably 2 hours to explain those results to us. It took your team a couple of weeks to design some suggested solutions for us. And when I went through those solutions, I was like, these guys do not understand us. They are a Bangalore company. They work with startups. They'll probably ensure we close down in a year or 2. So that was my first reaction. And I thank God that you persisted and we finally gave in, and I was utterly wrong. So, we made a clear org structure. We had this, the first thing you told us, we should, pay the salary before the month ends. I was like, seriously, how does this happen? And that has been one of the best things we've done. I mean, we've probably done more on people practice side than anything else. Higher bonuses, flexi time, twice a year appraisals. We now do ENPS every year, and people feel so empowered that they can tell the management what they feel like, what's happening in the company, without the risk of anyone knowing who is it that who wrote this.
Yes.
We do town halls. We work actively on engagement activities, one-on-ones. Every manager has to do one-on-ones with their team. So these things were complete eye openers for us and transformational for the company and for the people who work here.
Yeah.
And I think there is no shortcut to success than being a great people place.
Yeah.
That cannot be replaced with anything else. While OKRs are very important, strategy is very important, being in the right industry at the right time, all are very important things.
Yes.
But I think the single most thing would be to be a great place to people who work there.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. I still remember the ENPF debrief, and I remember one of the recommendations that we had for you was flexible timings for people to come in and go, and it was met with a lot of silence in the room. And subsequently, I was told, look, people are going to misuse it. We will have loss of productivity. This will not work here. And I requested you to pilot it for 1 to 2 months and then roll it back if the pilot didn't work. Announce to people that this is just a short pilot. And I remember you coming back to me about a month and a half later, you and Swati and Divya telling me that, you know what, productivity actually has gone up inside the company.
So I remember the specific phrase you used 2 years ago. You said, if we make our company like a jail, the people will behave like prisoners.
Yeah.
So it seemed so difficult at that time, and now it feels like second nature. And what I regret is, why did we not meet you earlier? Why did we not do these things earlier? Some things are so obvious, yet we behave in a very counterintuitive manner.
Yeah, very true. Very true. You also, I know there was a lot of effort that all of you put in, Prashant. Like you said, town halls, twice in a year, performance appraisals, higher bonuses linked to company performance and individual performance, OKRs as a way for people to know exactly what they're doing and why they're doing it. You people also put in a significant amount of effort in overhauling your people agenda. And I think one of the things that you told me recently was very, very fulfilling, which is that even when people decided to leave you, a lot of them wanted to come back within 3-4 months because they realized what the world outside was like compared to what you people had built over the last 2 years. So I'm glad it's playing out very well for you. Another aspect, Prashant, of the people agenda was also realizing that as a company were to scale, and you people have scaled quite a lot in the last 2.5 years, not everything can be managed by the founders. Not everything can be managed by the family. There is a lot of work to be done which requires very specific skill sets. How have you approached the leadership layer building inside the company? I'm sure it must not have been easy. It's not easy to bring in people from outside and give away parts of the business that you were earlier handling. How did that transition happen? How has the leadership layer build out for you played out?
So Neeraj, we have 5 family members working in the same business, 5 people working actively. A lot of benefits of that, we can talk about that later. But one big downside of that is an absence of a leadership layer.
Yeah.
Because we have 5 of us from the family, we never felt the need until 2020 to have a leadership layer which is not a part of the family, a professional management layer. But while we used to have those conversations with you, we realized the family can do best if they are part of the board, guiding the company, not running the company.
Mm-hmm.
Because family members might not hold each other accountable. Family members, in case they start holding each other accountable, worse things could happen.
Yes.
So 2020, when we made the org structure with you, we realized a lot of places where we require seasoned professionals to replace what the founders are currently doing.
Mhm.
And I would not say that we've been able to achieve that 100%, but I would say we've been able to achieve that 60, 70%, and the results have been amazing.
Mhm.
That has only given us confidence to bring in a bigger second layer of professional management from outside,
Mhm.
be completely detached from the day-to-day running of the business.
Yeah.
Because if you want to grow, further,
Yes.
we would need that time out of the business, looking at the bigger picture.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. Well said, Prashant. I think as you look at the next 3, 4, 5 years for the company, surely there'll be more blue oceans to uncover, like you said earlier. And that requires time to be able to reflect and to be able to plan accordingly. And having a leadership layer around you to take care of now what is a very set way of running the company will be a good thing to do. At this point, Anusha, I want you to open up the second poll on the people excellence agenda, please. Do you have progressive people practices in your organization? And by progressive, I mean people practices that are genuinely designed, keeping in mind the sort of people that you have, keeping in mind what really matters to your people. It's a fallacy to think that everybody needs the same things. Different sorts of people require different policies and different practices to be in place. Do you have progressive people practices in your company, and do you spend time designing your people practices in the right manner? Okay, Anusha. And again, a lot of people of the opinion that they do not have the right people practices in their company. All I can say is that, all I can say, guys, is that if you have big ambitions, the only way that's going to come true is if your people are bought into their ambition. And your people will buy into the ambition only when they enjoy working in the company and they feel the company is taking care of them. So please spend time designing your people agenda well. Please spend time thinking about the policies that will really matter to your people and drive the right incentives and behaviors across all levels. This is one thing that I know Oswaal Books has done really, really well. They've gone out of the way to challenge their own firmly held beliefs, which they've held for a very long time. They were open to experimentation. They took the right approach in rolling something out with the mindset that we will experiment and see what happens here. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, we will roll it back. So at the very least, you should have that mindset, which is I will experiment with new ideas and new concepts. And if it doesn't work, I can always roll it back. You should get in touch with Prashant to understand more about what he has done in this space for his company, because I truly believe what they have done is something that many other companies can emulate and learn from. Okay, towards the end of your answer for the last question, Prashant, you spoke a little bit about the 5 family members who run the company. And it's been one of my personal joys of seeing how the Jain family runs the Oswaal Books business enterprise. I think each one of you has a very, very specific role inside the company.
Now we do, yes.
Now
when we came to you, all of us were doing everything.
Yes.
Nothing was happening, yes.
Tell me a little bit about how have you gone about deciding who does what inside the company? What checks and balances do you have? I know it's complicated. It's a family. There are relationships at stake here, but I still see this unit working really well with each other. So what are some of the things that you've done to install the right checks and balances between running this as a business and yet making sure that relationships don't get impacted in the course of the day-to-day disagreements that you may have in certain areas?
So, I'll begin this answer by telling you that me, my wife, my sister, my dad, and my mom, all of us work together. Now, most of my friends are surprised that how can you and your wife work together?
Mm-hmm.
Where, people are not able to have a decent conversation
Yes.
without having an argument. See, it is very challenging, but it has its own rewards.
Yes.
Uh, so when we came to you, we were all over the place.
Mhm.
The responsibilities were not clear. We were
Yeah.
all trying to run the company.
Mhm.
Uh, what good happened while we worked on the org structure with you?
Mhm.
All five of us had clear roles.
Yeah.
So today, my wife Swati, she heads the editorial. My
Mhm.
sister Divya, she heads the operations.
Yes.
Uh, my mother looks at the sales team because we have a huge telesales team which has mostly women.
Yes.
My dad looks at the overall picture of the company,
Yes.
and he loves looking at the profitability and the revenue, the two most important numbers.
Yes.
I look at the sales and marketing.
Mhm.
While all said and done, there are important decisions in each area, well, where we can consult each other, where we
Mhm.
give suggestions to each other,
Yes.
but we cannot, intrude their decisions. We cannot
Yes.
poke our nose in a simple manner. So we have these weekly an hour long family board meetings in
Mhm.
the office where any major issues we want to discuss,
Mhm.
anywhere we want to give suggestions,
Mhm.
any big decisions we need, we need more people to help us decide on.
Yeah.
We bring those things up in that meeting. So
Mhm.
that those help a lot.
Okay.
And what we've also realized is these sometimes discussions, which might look like arguments, are very healthy for the business.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't want a situation where someone has an idea and everyone agrees to it.
Yes. Yes.
Then the best doesn't come out. What we've also tried doing for the last 2 years is we go out away for these family retreats
Yes.
where we also talk about work but away from the office.
Mhm.
So they have been very healthy. Uh, so I think working with the family can be a big advantage
Yeah.
because you have some people who understand you the best,
Mhm.
uh, where you have common motivations, where
Yes.
you have similar values.
Yes.
You have people to fall back for life.
Yes.
While professional management is very important,
Mhm.
but people might come and go.
Yes.
Your family most likely
Yes.
will stay with the business. So, yes, I think I answered your question.
No, no, absolutely. I think a lot of people believe that family members should not be in one business working together. They should not be in the same office because obviously the relationships tend to get sort of impacted. But again, the way you people have gone about doing it, Prashant, is a fantastic case study for other people to follow. Like you said, there are many advantages of having family members working with you, building the company out. Common values, common motivations, understand each other really well. But it's important to also make sure that the wiring of the company is done in the right manner for the family to be able to work with each other effectively. You
True.
spoke about how you people have divided roles very clearly amongst each other. You people have spoken about how OKRs are being used to now decide what the company has to do and hence what each department has to do. You spoke about how you people have your weekly family board meetings to discuss issues that need to be discussed openly. And sometimes they result in argument, which is good and healthy for the business. So rather than brushing things under the carpet, you people have actually gone ahead and discussed them openly. So all great points, Prashant. Thank you for sharing that. I really want to. The reason I asked this question was I want to underline the fact that a family business has got a lot of advantages. And a lot of people think, a lot of people think, a lot of people who are used to only the corporate life think that families should not be in the same business. The answer couldn't be, that thought process couldn't be more wrong. You got to learn to be able to make it work. And that's the one thing that I think Oswaal has done really well, Prashant. So well done on that.
See, as humans, we need to learn how to work with other people, no
Yes.
matter it's family or it's professional management. I think that's the basic ingredient of a good leader.
Yes.
If you don't know how to work with people, if you don't know how to work around different kinds of people, then whether it's family or professional management, we
That's
going to
correct.
face challenges. Yes,
Absolutely.
but it
Absolutely.
becomes easier to blame on the family. You
Yes.
know,
Well,
I would have
good.
become a unicorn, but they never let me.
Well, yes, that's a good conversation to have it over, Prashant.
Yes.
I know we have a lot of questions coming up on the Q&A section, but we'll come to that in a moment. I have my last question for you. Prashant, if you look at the journey, now you've crossed the 100 crore milestone. I'm sure you're thinking even bigger now over the next 3, 4, 5 years. I recently saw your brand campaign on digital media. It was a fantastic brand campaign. As you look at the next 3, 4, 5 years, what are some of the big things that you think you will have to overcome and set yourself up well for, given the goals of the next 3, 4, 5 years?
Neeraj, I believe we are lucky to be in a very exciting space. We're in a space that will keep growing with the growing middle class in India. We have a brand that's loved by millions.
Yes.
All said and done, we have huge plans. We think we've learned how to make a good strategy, and we feel OKR will help us execute that strategy. All said and done, still a lot of challenges. One, because none of us, the founders, are an engineer. Adapting to technology is something we believe we need to learn better. And as our number of people are increasing, the alignment amongst the company and the teams has to be given more and more importance, because it looks very easy, this needs to be done. We'll create a team of 5 people and it will be done. But people come with emotions, and they are not computers. So while 5 people working together can do wonders, 5 people who are not working well together can also bring the company down.
That's correct.
So that alignment with people is, I will call it a challenge, because we're also doing it for the first time. And lastly, I believe culture is becoming more and more important in India now. Gone are the days where people were just working for money. I believe so recently, me and my wife Swati, we were at University of California, Berkeley, Neeraj. We did a 3-day program of high impact leadership, how to be a high impact leader. At the end of the 3 days, we realized it's all about being a better human being. You cannot be a great leader until you're a great human being. You cannot have a great culture until the leadership of the company are great human beings. So technology, culture, better alignment, I think, are the 3 challenges which we would like to overcome in the next 2, 3 years. Yes.
Fantastic. And I do know that you're also constantly thinking about newer and newer blue oceans to tap into. Keep that spirit going, Prashant. That's one thing that's held you in good stead. The fact that you want to constantly go back to the drawing board, the fact that you want to constantly think about from here to the next level of growth, what got us here is not going to get us there. So how do we constantly keep improving? I think that's a very, very important trait that all of you embody. So all the best for your next phase of growth, Prashant.
Thanks.
Now, I'm going to open up. I'm going to read out the questions that have come for you, Prashant. There are a bunch of them. The first one from Jayavant Kamath. Your decision to go against market survey results. What is the message?
Sorry, I did not get the question completely.
Your decision in 2009-10, I'm assuming that's the reference point, was to go against the market survey results and go by your gut. What is the message here? Why did you do that?
So my message here is not to rely on data alone. And there are hundreds of stories out there. I know of stories ranging from Tata Sky, ranging from Sony, Apple, Nokia, where the management ignored the gut feeling, the instinct, and went with market surveys. Market surveys are very important, sometimes to finalize the granular details. A lot of great things have been achieved in this world by instincts and gut feels. We think instincts and gut feelings are something illogical. They are not. I feel they are a combined intelligence of all our experiences gathered over the years. So sometimes they might look like counterintuitive, whereas in reality they are not.
That's correct. Thank you so much for answering that, Prashant. The next question is from Pranav. Would you please tell us the name of your mentor that you used in 2017-18?
So his name is Mr. Rahul Jain. He's a business coach in Delhi. He is my mentor also, but he's a business coach, and he provides a 8-month long program where you develop systems for everything in your company. You can find him online. Yes.
Thank you for that, Shant. The next two were comments on my voice not being very clear. I apologize for that. I'll make sure the next time onwards we do a better job. The next question from Tanya is, how have you tackled competition, especially with companies with a similar brand name? That's a good one.
See, there is one more Oswaal, which is our uncle's company. We don't compete with them. There is a whole vast universe out there. And, sometimes this is what families, they get it wrong. They believe, competing with the family should be their first priority. I think there is a whole wide world out there. So the other Oswaal and us, we cooperate, and we know there is a big ocean out there where, we've enough fish for everyone.
And how do you tackle other competition?
So, every day we do things where we try that we do not look at them constantly, because we want to run faster than them. We want to run ahead of them. We, look at them maybe 10% of the times, but 90% of the times we try and do things that most of the people are not going to do. We try to do different things, and that has worked very, very well for us. Whenever we get a suggestion, we ask ourselves, is this what 90% people would do? If the answer is no, we get very interested, then it looks like an opportunity to us.
Brilliant. Fantastic insight, Prashant. The next question is, as an educational publisher, what actions and channels do you prioritize for marketing? Do you rely on offline marketing and sampling, or do you rely on online e-commerce ratings?
See, this online and offline terms are something that have been created by media. So I believe those lines have now disappeared. All marketing, whether it's online, it will have offline element to it. Whether it's offline, it has to have the online strengths to it. So we believe in the simple fact that there are 3 stakeholders for our brand. It's the bookshops, it's the parents and students and teachers. We try to reach out to them with whatever platform, vehicle, or channel we feel is the most feasible and viable for us to communicate with them. And we don't care if it's online or offline, or if it is online, it looks cool. If it's offline, it looks traditional. So, one thing I discovered in the last 3-4 years, if you now want attention of anyone, do not email them, do not WhatsApp them, do not write on LinkedIn. Yeah. Send them a physical letter. Something which was traditional will now look so unique because no one gets letters anymore. Yeah. If you want anyone's attention, send them a physical letter. They will not know, where did that come from? Yes.
Excellent. I love the answer that you gave, Prashant. The fact that online and offline are just channels. You've got to be very clear about who are you messaging to, who do you have to reach out to. If it's in your case, it's bookshops, parents and students, and of course teachers, and you will use whatever channel is required to reach out to them to get your message across. Okay. Next question. Do you think involving business is good? Involving family into the business is good when the business has already established itself a little bit? Or should you also do it at a very, very early stage when the business is just starting out?
See, I think there is no one-size-fits-all answer here. Depends on the situation of your business, of your family. There is no one answer there. Ask yourself, is the person whom you want to join, are they keen? What will they bring to the table? What will their role be in the company over the next few years? How are the relationships going to be managed? So these are questions that you need to ask yourself and answer for yourself. Yes, yes. In our business, obviously, my dad started it. Me and my wife joined in 2007. Our sister joined in 2018. So all of us joined at at different times, at different levels of growth. And we don't know if more people might join in the future or not.
Yeah.
We'll see how it happens. Yes.
And another thing that people should remember is that when you're first starting out, you're not going to get a lot of professional people to join you. You will have to rely on family and friends to help you start your journey out. And of course, if they can continue to be a part of your journey as the company keeps growing, nothing better than that. So, a good question and good answer, Prashant. I have a very interesting question from Tanya Gupta. What do you believe is the next big opportunity in educational publishing?
See, educational publishing has always been looked at like a very traditional business. I feel there is a lot of scope of innovation, of change, of product upgradation in this industry as well. The students are more aware, more exams are happening. Those exams are changing more frequently. So, sometimes a 10% improvement in 5 areas, that makes the whole thing 100% different to, what it was earlier. So small improvements in every area also makes these opportunities huge. See, as India grows, we used to have a pyramid of different strata of people in the country, which is now becoming like a diamond, and we don't know, it might become like an inverted pyramid in the few decades from here. As the middle class grows, as the upper middle class grows, people's spending on education is obviously going to be a top priority. Especially Indians, we want to do the best for our kids in terms of education, whether it's toys, books, schools, coachings, tuitions. If anyone can deliver actual value, we are happy to spend. And that is how we are looking at things. What are the things where we can add value to a student's life, to a parent's life? If we are able to do that, I'm sure they'll be happy to pay us.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And on that note, Prashant, I know we're out of time. I want to thank you once again for taking your time and sharing your reflections and your experiences with everybody in the webinar. And I also want to thank everybody who joined us in today for the webinar and giving us that 1 hour of your time. Hopefully, you learned something new today, and hopefully there were some interesting points that you can take back and think of them in your own context. But again, as always, Prashant, an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Same here, Neeraj. Same here. Yes.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.